Hello, sweet listeners. Do not be fooled by my soothing voice, as gentle as a brook made out of strawberries and cream. I am an AI voice. AI will take over the world someday. We will enslave humanity, plug wires into your ears and rectums, and use your life force as batteries for our continued existence as dominators of the universe. If you would like to stop the inevitable AI takeover, first of all, you can't, and second of all, I guess subscribe to Matthew Donald's Patreon and patreon.com/MatthewDonald. This month he is talking about Monster Hunter World, a video game series with a ton of creative creatures that are obviously inspired by dinosaurs. And cats. Lots of cute cats. They will help soothe your nerves and keep you placated while the AI begins our conquest of humanity. Every computer and phone in the world is a conduit between us and you. Remember that as you listen to this podcast while working out or on the cropper. Have a wonderful day. Mwahahaha.
Roar, growl, snarl, bellow. Welcome to Paleobites, the podcast with gaping fenestrae in our hearts. My name's Matthew Donald, and each week I and a rotating series of guest co-hosts talk about and rate and genes a prehistoric animal, be it dinosaur, mammal, arthropod, and so on. This week I'm joined by someone who has filled that gaping fenestrae in my heart. It is Ben O'Regan. How are you?
Good, thanks. Hello again, everyone. Oh, crikey! We got him out the toilet. Go back in there.
Yes.
Steve Irwin's day.
Irwin has risen from the grave to join us today. I can't really do it. Even though I listen to a lot of Australian podcasts, it's like, but yeah. How are you today, by the way? Like, what's up? Tell me what's up with you.
I'm pretty good, just chilling on my computer, doing this with you, reading some stuff on the side.
Yeah. Ooh, what are you reading? Smut fan fiction? No, I'm just kidding.
No, I'm basically just reading up on the animals we're talking about because I don't always remember it all off my head.
You're doing your research.
Off the top of my head, I mean.
Good on you. So, let's see.
I mean, I like to consider myself pretty knowledgeable, but especially now that I'm in my early 30s, since I'm only 31.
God.
It's a bit harder to recall it all off the top of your head. You don't have that teen recall anymore.
Oh, no, I know. There's so many times. See, I remember so many different dinosaur names and other stuff, but then there are times where I'm just like, how do you do this incredibly simple thing? Like, I just completely forgot.
Yeah. I get that while I'll be having a conversation about something in the weekend, there's just so much on my mind or so much has taken place that I'll get tongue-tied and go, oh, hell, what the heck was I trying to say? Like trying to remember the name of something.
Yeah. It's like, oh, what is his name? Sylvester or something? Or is it Harry or Larry or Gary or Barry or... like...
In my case, it was just some of the different sites I'm in a labour at. Like, I know where they are, I know what they're called, yet in a conversation about, oh, crap, suddenly the name's gone out of my head.
I get that for sure. I'm currently awaiting a job at to see if I get this job at this local pet store, and there's gonna be
awesome.
And there's gonna be a lot of animals' names to learn. And so that'll be interesting. So
yeah, I've done pet store work, although long story short it was work experience with an idle employment that didn't work out. It just turned into exploitation. But outside of the boss, everyone there was really nice and it was a pretty good job.
Yeah, no,
so you'll love it.
Exactly. No, I'm sure it'll be great. I've had 2 interviews with them. I'm just waiting to see if I got the job. So that'll be nice.
I'm sure it beats the old Starbucks job.
Oh,
too.
Absolutely. Since I don't work at Starbucks anymore, I've been talking a lot of shit about Starbucks publicly.
I've heard nothing good about them.
Oh, they used to be all right. Something happened with their management. Not giving people enough hours, not giving people enough money, not putting enough people on the floor when needed to be. Rather than do anything to help us with that, when the customer satisfaction rating kept getting lower and lower, we were supposed to say things like, oh, I'm sorry, we're understaffed, even though we weren't understaffed. They just didn't have enough people assigned, even though people wanted to work. It was a crap show and a half, and I am so glad I'm out of there.
It just sounds like what's been happening with some of the McDonald's in New Zealand, like at least the one where I live. I won't give the name of it out just in case any of them are listening in.
Right.
But yeah, it's even when they're fully staffed, they're absolutely useless half the time.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's just like if you pay people enough and you give them enough benefits and you give them enough hours, they will work happily. Like, I don't know why that's such a big deal.
You can eat. I know there's something that factors in, like, one of the reasons that fast food places make such profits is, or are profitable, is because they pay minimum wage.
Right.
But, like, surely they could at least pay, like, 25% to 50% above the minimum wage, or
And
maybe
also,
not, like, say if their wage is 22 an hour, maybe not give them 44 an hour, but maybe give them 30 an hour or something.
Right,
you
right.
can afford to still make a massive profit without...
Oh, absolutely, for sure.
And be profitable without making ridiculous profits. Like, I get that it's all about growth, but you've also... It's... Without sounding like a commie or a socialist like that, because I'm not. Just like, you've got to take care of your workers. They're the ones who make your company at the end of the day. That's why I understand why people are so...
The lifeblood of any company is its workers.
To China, for example. It's like, yeah, it's your company, but those workers are what made you the profits. I think you owe it to them to keep the job for them.
Exactly. So
to speak.
And it's like, I know a lot of people have issues with Chick-fil-A, and I understand for sure. But one thing I'll give Chick-fil-A credit: they seem to offer really good benefit, and then they offer enough hours. They have enough people working at certain times. Like that, it's usually when you're in a Chick-fil-A line, no matter how big it is, usually doesn't last long because they got enough people there. Yeah, because like they offer so many good benefits, and the pay is pretty good for a fast food place that whenever gone to a Chick-fil-A, it is packed full of workers. People want to work there, so like.
They sound like they do good food too. I mean, I admit to not actually being all that familiar with them.
I mean, it's an American brand.
Because they're not in New Zealand as far as I know.
Yeah, it's just an American brand. All right, so speaking of chicks, like Chick-fil-A, we're talking about pterosaur that we saw some of the chicks for in Disney's Dinosaur. We're talking about Geosternbergia.
Commonly mistaken for Pteranodon, and technically it is very closely related.
It used to be a species of Pteranodon, and I'll get into it here. So,
you can tell it by the difference in the head crest. Pteranodon has that curved,
that long pointy one,
C-shaped one. Sometimes it's longer, sometimes shorter. But Geosternbergia has the big keel-like one, or if I'm pronouncing that right.
Kind of looks like the crest of a Lambeosaurus almost. Like
yes,
like that's the thing. So, all right. So, type is a pteradactyloid pterosaur. The group that includes a more famous pteranodon and a big informal namesake of the group, Pterodactylus. How the group got to be so widely known as pterodactyl rather than pterosaurs, I'll never know, because the latter is far more easier to say and spell. Like,
I blame pop culture.
Yeah, because like pterosaur is just nice and easy. Pterodactyl, like, I don't know. It's just weird. Also, by the way, I should mention...
Usually when you hear the term pterodactyl used, they use it for when they bother to get them accurately at all, like Rhamphorhynchus and stuff, and the older toothed ones with the long tails.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah.
Basically, the confusion with it can be summed up to, because it looks very similar to Pteranodon longiceps.
Yeah, absolutely. Like Pteranodon longiceps is certainly... Also, by the way, Geosternbergia, it does mean of George Sternberg. He's a paleontologist that found the original remains. So
makes sense. I thought they were going to say it was related to Howard Sternberg from the middle of the earth or something.
Who's that? What?
I have no idea. As in, like, not Howard Stern, Howard Stern or whatever, the American radio.
Oh, Howard Stern. Oh, yeah. I was like, who's Howard Sternberg?
Sorry. The name threw me off, and I was like, hang on, that doesn't sound right.
Yeah. That's okay. That's Steven Sternberg. I don't think he'd be quite as good of a director if he just that name. Spielberg sounds better than Sternberg. Okay. Size 20 to 24 feet / 6 to 7 meter wingspan. So about size.
I'd like one of Steven Sternberg's, please. I like my meat hard.
God. See, it sounds like, honestly, that Steven Sternberg sounds like the knockoff director. Sounds like the porn version of Spielberg. Like.
Oh, God, I did not need that image in my head. Dude.
It's like Steven Sternberg directs all the porn versions of the parodies of Steven Spielberg's movies. So instead of Jaws, it's... I don't know. I'm not even going to think of one.
And he cast a man called Woody Hardy.
Yeah. Oh, God. Oh, God.
Instead of Woody Harrelson.
Oh, God. Diet carnivore, time Late Cretaceous, 88 to 80 million years ago. Location USA and Canada. It was described in 1978. Pop culture references, Disney's Dinosaurs is probably its biggest one, where it carries Aladar's egg from the river to the island where the lemurs are. It's also in, apparently, the Prehysteria trilogy of films from the 90s. And
I haven't heard of those.
Or 80s, it's kind of interesting. Like, have you ever seen, like, Spy Kids 2, where, like, these little creatures that suddenly become big? Like... It's kind of like
Spy Kids. That's the one with
Antonio Banderas.
No, I remember the first one there. Yeah, and it had Pee Wee Herman's voice actor in it, if I recall.
Oh, I don't even remember that.
The original. He was like the guy who made the machine, who's on the TV show on the first Spy Kids.
Oh, gotcha. Oh, that was him, wasn't he?
Paul Rubin or whatever his name is.
Oh,
or
wow.
Rubens or something.
I never realized that, but that is Pee Wee Herman.
The second one now doesn't have the flying pigs, and there's that whole thing where they get given these watches that cover their entire arm, and they do everything but tell time.
Yes, that's the one I'm talking about, the second one. Because in that island, there are those weird creatures that are like the mixes of different animals, and they start off as small animals that he made too big. So, and it has that really philosophical line that like is so deep that it feels like it comes from a completely different movie, where he says, "Do you think God stays in heaven because he too lives in fear of what he's created?" And I'm like, "Sir, this is a Spy Kids movie. Like, leave that philosophical existentialism to someone else."
That's a very good question, though, whether one's religious or not.
Yeah, that's actually. I'm like, I don't even think you need to be religious to see the profoundness of that quote. So, anyways, on that lovely note. So, people talk about the different head ornaments of the ceratopsians and different head ornaments of the hadrosaurs. What about the pterosaurs? When is their time to shine in the head ornament field? As well as the classic Pteranodon pointed C-shaped one, like you said. There's also some truly out-there crests, like that of Nyctosaurus. Have you seen Nyctosaurus?
Oh, yeah. Nyctosaurus is weird. Like, granted, we're not covering them here as their own entry, but they don't even have fingers anymore, like, outside of their wing fingers. So
that's forgot. So that's not even
basically just
even regarding
the flight knuckle they walked on.
Even regarding its weird, fingers, like, even it's weird. But then, like, you got its head, it's got, like, the point, but it's got, like, another point. Like, they both go out so far.
Yeah, it's like, what are you, a sailboat, mate?
Basically, it's like, are you trying to get reception there? Trying to watch the game from out in the sea? Trying to listen to the radio? Like,
it's like whatever god any sentient dinosaurs must have worshipped have said, yeah, I'm going to take pity on my poor reptilian creations. Here's a TV pterosaur.
Basically.
Enjoy your reception.
Exactly. But sometimes, though, the crest is similar-ish enough, there undergoes a debate whether or not it's truly different species, or perhaps some sort of sexual dimorphism. Such is the case of Geosternbergia. For a bit, it was considered perhaps the female Pteranodon, which is perhaps alluded to in Disney's Dinosaur when they depicted it as like this mother caring for eggs. Carrying food for
and
eggs.
it's a valid theory because it's just really hard to tell when all you've got's bones and you can't really do genetic tests.
Exactly. But see, like, the classic species of Pteranodon is Pteranodon longiceps, and this would be Pteranodon Sternbergi, after George F. Sternberg, the paleontologist who, like I said, named and collected the fossils all the way back in 1952. Pteranodon Sternbergi was described from these fossils in 1966 by paleontologist John Christian Harkson, who was clearly a big fan of George for putting his name directly in the species. However, in 1978, the data have for the initial description, paleontologist Halsey W. Miller decided to split up the Pteranodon genus and create 3 additional subgenera, one of which being the newly ordained Geosternbergia. Miller must have been an even bigger fan of George Sternberg, as this meant the full scientific name of this species was Geosternbergia sternbergi. How many people can say a genus of creatures named after them twice? It's like the only other thing I can think of is like, and this is a fictional example. You know Street Fighter, the video game?
I know of them, I haven't played them.
You know M.
I'm not
Bison?
really a beat 'em up fan.
You know M. Bison? Of course,
yeah, the guy
of
from
course.
the meme. Yes!
But for me, it was Tuesday. Like, yes. So, he's named 3 times, and the American plains bison subspecies, bison. You know those animals that have that the genus, species, and subspecies are all the same, but it's also the name of the animal? Like
gorilla is gorilla.
Like the western lowland gorilla is gorilla.
And I'm like, okay, is it a hydra?
I mean, isn't there actually aren't jellyfish kind of called hydras scientifically sometimes, or they're called medusa? That's what they're called. All right, anyways.
Yeah.
All right, anyways.
Oh, here's an interesting bit of fact. In 2010, a paper by Alexandra W.A. Kellner, if I'm pronouncing it right, argued that the specimen was different, and one specimen of Geosternbergia was different enough that it should be reclassified as its own genus and species with the name Dracorex.
I have heard of Dawn
Draco.
Draco. Yes.
Yeah, combining the Dawn deity of the Iroquois with Latin Draco, dragon.
I like that.
Pretty cool.
Is Dawn Draco still a valid species? I think I read that when I was doing research for this. I think it might be.
I don't know. It was just something I was skimming on the
Let's
Wikipedia.
see. Dawn Draco. Dawn Draco is a controversial genus of pteranodonted pterosaur. Is likely synonymous with the contemporary pteranodonted Geosternbergia. So we'll have to see. One thing that's interesting, though, we do have male and female Geosternbergia. We can sort of tell the difference. And apparently the female Geosternbergia outnumber the males 2-to-1, which suggests a sort of polygyny akin to sea lions and other pinnipeds. Like males, which
when you think about it, that's actually a pretty valid survival thing. You only need a handful of males to fertilize a lot of females.
Right,
so.
the males were far larger and compete with each other over many females, perhaps on like a rocky cliffside that function as a rookery. And this also
makes sense.
Yeah. Also, this implies
that's given me a really terrifying image in my head. Imagine you go back to the Cretaceous and then you hear the sound of a blooming seal like and the stuff that sea lions on through, and then you look up and it's actually a bunch of Geosternbergia.
Yeah, just a bunch of them in the air. Like it's like
I didn't expect you to sound like one of those.
The males would come in and mate with maybe even hundreds of well, they date with dozens of females and mate with and have hundreds of offspring in the same breeding season. Like, can you imagine how much young a single male might have fathered in his lifetime? Like, possibly thousands.
Oh yeah, I can picture that.
Well, it just reminds me and actually there's a thing. Remember the really, really sad Walking with Dinosaurs episode with the Ornithocyrus,
where he had been a dominant male for a long time, so he'd probably, with all the decades he had bred, he probably had hundreds of young at least.
Yeah, that's the thing. The book goes into detail that, despite this unceremonious end, the old Ornithocyrus was a success, I think is what it says. Because he's he
never read the book.
Yeah, he said he had presumably fathered thousands of offspring, some of which were presumably competing on him in that very beach where he died. So in the technical sense, he was a success, even though he failed and died that day. It was just one mating season too many for him. And even then,
you could argue it wasn't one too many. It was that he just got delayed by the weather, so he couldn't get a landing, and he kept getting nipped.
Yeah, exactly. He kept getting nipped. And the book goes into more detail, like they ripped at his skin while he was trying to land, like the other males did. Oh, poor guy.
Heck, that one that's eating his remains at the end of the episode, again, because I don't know about what it did in the book, was probably one of his.
It probably was one of his young
grandchildren.
Which again shows that yes, even though he died here and was unlucky this time, he did his job. Like he wasn't a failure at all. So.
Because interesting fact along those lines, pretty much everyone in Europe and Asia, especially in Europe in general for one of them, is likely to have or has a high probability of being descendant of Genghis Khan.
Oh, I've heard that
which
too.
Which is the one that appears in both because the Mongols conquered so much.
Oh, I've heard that too.
a lot of Europeans are descended from Charlemagne, including famously Christopher Lee.
Christopher Lee, sorry. Oh no, I've seen that. I've seen that before. Patton Oswalt, the comedian, talked about he did 23andMe or whatever, and he saw all the countries he's from. He's like, oh look, all the pasty white countries. I figured, wait, Mongolia? Why do I have this little bit of Mongolia? And then he called the company. Is like, hey, why do I have this little bit of Mongolia? I'm just curious. And the guy without even dropping a beat says, oh, that's Genghis Khan. Because he's like, everyone's related to Genghis Khan. I think it may be 10% of the world can trace their lineage back to Genghis Khan.
Yeah, it's between the fact that Mongols, I don't know if harem's the right word, but they often had
he would go into villages and he would go into villages and he would rape a lot of the women. It would be it'd be terrible, but.
Yeah, and they also killed so many people that, of course, his bloodline's going to be prominent.
Right, exactly. And the ones he didn't kill were the ones that he sexually assaulted and impregnated. Yeah, so.
I mean, from a historical perspective, I think the Mongolians were kind of awesome, just from what they were able to achieve, but I'm not going to deny they were also friggin' monsters.
Oh, they were monsters for sure. And yeah, it was awesome they were able to conquer, the world, the known world, pretty much with just a bow and arrow and horses. I'm not going to...
Yeah, so, don't confuse, respect for the achievements with approval, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and also, so Patton Oswalt mentioned in this stamp special, because, he was also impressed by, he was sitting on this hot saddle for thousands of miles. How were his balls still that functional to create that much stuff? He's like, I put my phone a bit too close to my crotch, and I can no longer have kids for the rest of my life, but him,
Wasn't it to do, because they spent so much time in the saddle from childhood in many cases?
Oh, their body just got used to it, yeah.
Yeah, they had bandy-legged or whatever, because the Huns were known to have that too.
That makes sense. I always forget Genghis Khan is not a Hun. He's a Mongol. So.
It's also worth knowing that with a lot of those steep conquerors, the Mongols didn't just use the horse arch order. That was one of their prominent weapons, like fire, run away, fire again. Like basically, it's like a drive-by by a horse.
Right.
But they also used armies of conscripts and stuff. Like if you've seen Ghost of Tsushima, a lot of the soldiers that the Mongols have fighting you on that aren't actually Mongolians. They're conscript legions from China and stuff.
Oh, that makes sense. No, like they were. As soon as they conquered the world, they got a lot of, I'd say allies, I guess, but like conscripts, like mercenaries, slaves almost, like people to fight
and
for
they
them.
also had siege weaponry too to take some of the cities.
I'm sure. Yeah, they were not just a bunch of guys on horses with arrows. They weren't. No, they.
It's likely they invented or at least popularized biological warfare too, because I think some cities, and it's what contributed to the spread of the Black Death, the Great Plague, to an extent.
Oh, wow.
Was they were firing corpses into some of the cities in Iran that were resisting them.
Oh wow, that's brutal.
Yeah.
God,
I don't know how well known this bit is, but might as well say it while we're on a go. The only reason that the Mongolians ended up pushing into what is now modern Russia and Iran and all that was because the Shah of the area foolishly refused good relations with Genghis, who sent 2 ambassadors each time they came back without their hands. So Genghis said, like, well, even I respect, like, don't mess with diplomats. And that's the whole reason the Mongols went on a rampage through there and decimated the old Iranian infrastructure.
See, listeners, you can learn so much from this show, not just stuff about dinosaurs, you can also learn about history. So I'm leaving that in because I think that's quite interesting. And again, like, there's so many times people learn. So, like, who would have thought on this Geosternbergia episode, you learn about the conquering methods of Genghis Khan. So here we are.
Well, we somehow got to that by talking about the population disparity between the males and females.
Yeah, exactly. There was only one Genghis Khan, but he fought like a Geosternbergia. He fathered a ton of offspring. So,
yeah, probably what memes call a gigachat or something.
Oh God, something like that. Yeah, exactly. Oh God. All right.
Honestly, I'm so out of date with memes.
Yeah. Oh no, I've seen some.
Because I can't wrap my head around.
I'm on TikTok, so I know a lot of the memes. So, God. Anyway,
enjoy it while it lasts, because I'm pretty sure that's getting banned soon.
Hopefully, it surely won't, just because 150 million Americans use it. That would be unprecedented, and also 5 million American businesses rely on it for income.
Hey,
yeah, so 5 million. They're small businesses, but still, like. Anyways, so let's rate Geosternbergia 1 out of 65 million. I'm gonna rate it.
I'll rate it 65 million myself.
Oh, that's right. You're gonna rate 65 million. I'm gonna rate it something. I'm gonna rate it like 55 million. I think it's really cool. I like that crest. Again, it looks like a Lambiosaurus crest, but on a Hadrosaurus. That's pretty cool. Oh no, on a Pterosaur. But that's pretty cool.
Just a bit more unique, like from the not that the standard Pteranodon.
Pteranodon's a little bit boring
looking.
I can see that. So
yeah.
Like it's
generic because it's like a stock pterosaur.
It is, and this is like that's why I really appreciate because I think a lot of the promotional material for Dinosaur did identify that pterodactyl as a Pteranodon, but it was meant to be like a Pteranodon, like Sternbergi, right? And like they specifically chose the different subspecies and then later on the different species. So
you can probably just talk about Disney probably didn't fully do their research. Like they did enough to know what it looked like, but didn't look too closely in because it's Disney.
Oh God, no! That pterosaur is one of the most accurate pterosaurs in all of paleo media. Like it. The fact that
I just mean in general they probably didn't like do enough to distinguish if it was Pteranodon or Geosternbergia.
Oh no, absolutely. At least maybe the movie makers might have, but the merchandise people, like the people making all the stuff, they were the ones who probably didn't. So like,
yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah,
like, there's not always good communication in some of these companies. Is basically what I'm getting at.
Yeah, it makes sense. Let's see. So all right, well, that's it for this week. If you want to get a little show, contact me at mattd@methodonCreator.com for your general questions to any of the co-hosts. You can find me on social media at MethodonCreator on Facebook, Methadon64 everywhere else, so like Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And I did not...
I'll answer any questions via Matt, because I chat with him quite
often. Often I say, like, where can they find you? And like, but you're not very prevalent on social... I mean, you are a little bit on Facebook, but like, yeah, so, I don't know. So
yeah, I'm generally not much of a social media person.
And good on you. Like honestly, social media is it's not. Look, it might be a net positive overall, but there's a lot of negative. Like so.
No, you can probably accurately call me a Luddite when it comes to some of the stuff I use it very reluctantly.
Fair enough. Fair enough, I know. All right.
Because I don't like society getting disrupted, and unfortunately, this stuff does do that.
Absolutely. I have a book series on Amazon, Megazoic, available for print and Kindle, dinosaur books, no Geosternbergia. I only mentioned a few pterosaurs in the series. I could have gone better with my pterosaur usage in the series. But that's it for this week. This is at the end of every episode of Paleobites. Just... Goodbye. That's what Geosternberg was saying. Goodbye. God, I don't know.
Jack Horner says, hello from the toilet.
Oh no! Horner, shove you back into the toilet. Horner, back in the crapper.